has it for later. And let's see, did it start recording? Yep, there we go. All right, good. All right, welcome this morning. So it's early morning here. It's about 6:30 here in Bend, Oregon, on the West Coast. I still, even though I've been over here for over a year, I'm still sitting there sometime going, wow, it's hard to still say West Coast because I'm so used to being Central and being a Texan for 52 years of my life, and now, a Texan transplanted to Oregon. Good morning, Raquel. Thanks for joining us. Good. I hope you're feeling well. So here we're going to jump into prepping the objective, okay? And what we do every time in prepping the objective, PTO, it's something that I was something that I learned from a very good friend of mine, which was a top sergeant in the Army. His name was Cisneros. That's his last name, Sergeant Cisneros, and really incredible guy. He did a lot of incredible missions. And one of the things they always did before they started every mission, and that was every day because they went on high value patrols. They were actually an armored personnel operation that moved what you would call high value personnel that were civilians coming into Baghdad International Airport into the green zone. And so these guys had to be on mission, had to have their head straight. They were dealing with a lot of difficult environment, you could say, a very difficult environment, and they had to protect and get their mission done. There was no such thing for failure. So one of the things that they focused on was a thing called PTO. So I adopted the term PTO from him, which is prepping the objective. And so before you begin anything that you do, you want to figure out what is your objective. And then that's the final result at the end of the event, whether that's a conference call, whether that's a meeting with someone on Zoom, or whether that's a multi-year type of project. You want to figure out what does the end look like. And then you work backwards in reverse to figure out what are the major milestones that you should be focusing on to accomplish. And you're basically penciling in dates along the way. Okay. Is it ever going to happen just like you write it out? Yes or no? Absolutely not. It's never going to happen but here's the deal. If you don't plan your operation, if you don't plan what you're going to do, then life does what it wants to you. So it's not a matter of the fact that just because you plan something, that means it's going to work out correctly. The person that doesn't plan anything is planning for disaster. So that's why you start off with beginning with the end in mind. Okay, that's something that I've been teaching for years since I developed the Rubicon system, which is kind of an amalgamation of everything I learned from the greatest philosophers, psychologists, military, what would you call top guns in the business. How did each one of them, and this goes into the civilian environments and includes individuals that are, have achieved incredible things throughout our history. Every single one of them has this one thing that's a common thread through every single one of them. And that is they figure out and they visualize what does it look like at the end. And they get very crystal clear. What is that picture? Okay. Something they can go to every day. And they actually visual motor rehearsal. That's something that the astronauts started using the VMR system back in the 60s. And what they were telling them to do is they would put them through simulations. And they could only simulate so many things of what could possibly happen to you when you're however many thousands of miles away, up in space. And what they found is they couldn't possibly simulate in the simulators what could happen. So what they had to do is they come up with visual motor rehearsal, which is putting themselves in situations that they can't physically create. They can't simulate, but your mind can simulate anything. So they came up with simulations, and what they wanted them to do is put themselves in the most unimaginable scenarios. And then they would hook up all of the monitors to their body. And what they would do is they would look at the individuals that would be performing and keeping themselves at a steady status, even when all crisis was breaking through. And that happened a couple of times with our astronauts up there, where things stopped working right, where oxygen was going to run out, where something broke that you couldn't possibly imagine. Yet some piece of a meteor would come by, our vessel. The odds of that, and hit it or ding it, and all of a sudden now there's something that's going to go wrong, and they're going to die if they don't figure out how to do something that's never been thought of before. So when you get put in those scenarios, visual motor rehearsal is the way that you can simulate everything that you do every day. So you can use this kind of conditioning, okay? The conditioning is prepping yourself for going into situations that you can't possibly imagine what life's going to throw at you. We just don't. There's too much randomness, too much uncertainty. I mean, who could have imagined 2 years ago that we would be going through a global pandemic? I mean, who? I mean, that's something like some out of what do they call a dystopian novel or a movie or something like that. So I feel like we're kind of caught in something like a 1984 where we're in this other world that doesn't resemble the world that we used to be in just 2 years ago. Here's the deal. Those that are going to cope better, those that are going to get to the other side of the event, those that are going to come out, not so much being the super champion with a gold medal on them. It's not so much about that. That's more arrogance. The point of confidence and arrogance are two different things. Okay, arrogance is theory with no performance, and confidence is theory with performance already put to the battlefield. It's theory with performance already put to the corporate boardroom. It's theory with performance already helping your clients when, had you not conditioned, had you not prepped the objective, something would have not come out as well as it did. That's all that you can do. Okay. The whole idea of Stoicism that I stumbled into years ago, and then I figured out, oh, I've been a Stoic my entire life. Didn't know it. The whole idea of Stoicism, it's one of the ancient three Greek schools. Stoicism is about the understanding that the only thing that you can control in this world is what? What is that? The only thing that you can control in the world is inside you. That's the only space that the Creator gave us control over. All these other things that happen out here, all these other people that do crazy things that you couldn't expect, that you didn't like or didn't want, but they do, and you can't figure it out, and there's no rationale or no reason to it, okay? All those things come at us, right? And when we let those things affect us inside, okay, that means we haven't prepped the objective. The objective is for us to help and serve people at a greater level. That's at least mine. Let's put it that way. I get up every day to build myself, to condition myself to be better than I was yesterday. That's just this much, just a little bit better. That may mean I do my routine consistently, regimen, ritual, practice. That may mean that I watch another video. That may mean I read another chapter in a book. That may mean that I do what I do to a little bit extra level of passion. Okay. All those things are pushing, polishing, making us a little bit better. And when we do that, we have the ability to affect other people's lives at a linear and maybe even an exponential level. You don't know who you're going to affect today by what you say and how you act. When you allow life and the randomness and the uncertainties to come and affect us and affect who you are inside, then you are letting, if you will, the enemy in the gate. The only way to win this environment, this is my belief, the only way to win this environment is you have to create your own fortress here in your mind. That's where your visual motor rehearsal is. That's where you prep the objective. And you have got to become mentally tough in the mind. And that means that you have to differentiate those things that you can control versus those things that are outside of you that you cannot control. So what do? You plan, practice, and prepare to perform inside. And that planning and practice and preparing to perform is about creating that mental toughness that can include your imagination, your mental preparedness that you have inside. And that mental preparedness that you have inside is a constant and never-ending level of improvement that the Japanese call kaizen, a continuous, constant level of improvement that just has to be a little bit better each day. And that compounded over time creates this thing that we call the hockey stick effect, okay? It's got the whole handle that looks like it's a very flat level of improvement. You're just getting minor improvements. And then all of a sudden, one day you get thrown into a situation totally unexpected. Someone calls you onto a platform, someone calls you onto a Zoom call, or you meet with that person that you really didn't think was a pivotal meeting. But because of your constant and never-ending improvement, because of your prepping the objective for years and years and years, like compounding interest on an investment, it barely makes any improvement. Then all of a sudden, boom, then you get that curve that goes vertical. And that curve that's going vertical is when you make an impact in someone's life, when they get that aha, when they get that breakthrough. And it's because you did the planning and preparation and practicing to perform when it matters most. And that may take the ritual, the regimen, this practice, that may take that years and years and maybe even decades? Is it worth it? Yes or no? Is it worth if you only make an impact in one person's life and you accomplish what the creator put you here for? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
so. Okay. I think so. Absolutely. So how do we do that? Okay. Now that we understand what we're doing this for, to make a difference in this world, to find that one individual, that 100 individuals, those thousands of individuals that are our audience, that we want to take what we learn from theory. Maybe there's plenty of professors out here. There's plenty of people that I call wannabes. Okay. They read a book and then regurgitate the book. Is that a bad thing? No, because you still might have been able to pass the message along. What is the better thing you can do? Is taking the message that you learned, the theory that you picked up, and then you did what with it? You practiced it.
Action.
And when you practiced it, right, what did you get?
Experience. Knowledge.
Experience. That is correct, Heather. You've got experience. Okay. Is experience better than theory? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. How many of you remember sitting at a university or a college somewhere and having a professor tell you some really good ideas called theory? How many of you remember that when you're going through college? Okay. And then
Yep.
you got out into the real field, whatever that was, and what happened with that theory when you turned and practiced it and applied it into the real world? Did it happen the
It went,
same way?
no,
No.
it went out the window.
Went out the window. Yeah. And what did you have to learn? You had to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So the baseline knowledge that you were given from that good professor was helpful. But it's not really what happens when you get into the uncertainty and the randomness of life. You have to learn to add your own intuition and your own gut instincts, and sometimes something called perseverance and grit. And that ultimately is the deciding factor, is the refusal to quit. Just the refusal to quit, to keep getting up just one more time. And if you can spread that message to every single person every day, then the thing that you can have as an impact is you can just help that person that has finally just thrown in the towel, that has said, that's it. I've been knocked down one too many times. The person that I trusted most put the knife in my back. Um, Things that have happened to me in life, too many things are happening at the same time, and I'm just worn out and I'm tired, and I quit. And if you can express your experience, not theory, the reason why experience is more powerful is because when you speak it and you talk about it, it has this thing that it carries with it called truth. And truth, from your perspective, has a important element inside it called passion. When you communicate something from the center of your soul, hey, this is what I learned, and this is what I practiced. And when I put them together, this is what happened in my life. And so I'm going to give it to you. Why? Because I want you to be able to use what I learned, take my experience, incorporate what you want or what you need out of it. And that's going to help you get through your difficult situation. And if everyone just gave to one or two other people, what would happen to our planet? How much could we change it? Because we gave. That's what our focus is. How do we take our experience? How do we communicate it, whether through the written script or through emails or through a social media post or through a video or through a live call or maybe through speaking on a platform, getting on a podcast? All of those things are ways that we do what? We project our experience. That's what you're talking about. That's the zero airbrushing. Okay. We're not worried about trying to be the stuff, style, and status. Okay, we got too many people all over social media and all that kind of stuff, and they're playing. It's fake. You feel it. Why? Because when they're communicating, what's missing in their communication? Experience.
Feelings.
The experience is missing, and if the experience is missing, and they're just reading a script, that's when it sounds mundane. That's when it sounds canned. That's when it sounds like, yeah, you're restating Tony Robbins. No problem with restating Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or any other magnificent. In fact, I'm going to share a video with you here in just a second from Sarah Blakely. Okay, someone that I just love her philosophy. Now, when you're sharing that, no problem with sharing that, but the value of it, the over the top, is what did you get from that? How did you apply it? And what did it do for you when you were in the middle of the randomness, the hell, the craziness? Okay. That's the message that you want to couple and wrap around the theory that someone else is giving you. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. We got a few minutes left here. So now that we got everybody online, the first thing we do every time we get together is what? We go through our gratefulness. Okay. The happiness advantage written by Sean Acor tells us that we get a 31% bump in our effectiveness and our performance when we do what? When we focus on everyone getting to talk about what they're grateful for. One thing. So we're going to do a roundtable. Everybody can just jump in here as you will. Excuse me, just a second. Alan, I see your hand up. Did you want to jump in here and say something, buddy?
Yeah, I can actually kill two birds with one stone. Everything that you're sharing this morning is reminding me of two people. One, the mountaineer that you had on last week,
Mm-hmm.
what he had shared from his experience, from the wisdom he gained, and his candid sharing of mistakes that he had made. He
Right.
comes across as someone who has spent so much time preparing and prepping and getting ready for each and every climb that when you were hiking around with him, I can imagine, I can see why you felt so comfortable in
Sure.
his presence. The other example is he may not be the best, have the best arm for a quarterback, but I think he has spent so much time getting his head in the game all these years. In the last Super Bowl, Mahomes, I was impressed that his arm was so good, but he lost because he was not the leader and he was not in the game like Tom Brady was. And
Okay.
so I'm thankful for examples like that. There, I killed two birds with
Absolutely.
one stone.
Good job. Okay. Well, I'll jump in here right behind you, Alan, and I agree with you. It is always at the end of the day, you're always going to get down to that 2-minute warning. And if it's a good competitor, if you're in a good situation, you've been matched. Your mettle is being tested. You're not going to have that 20-point spread that you can coast in and lay down on the ball for the last 2 minutes. You're going to have to hustle hard. You're going to have to run. What I grew up watching Roger Staubach, Captain Comeback, and watching Tom Landry call the plays in from the side and watching him go in there and do the 10 and outs and stopping the clock by hitting the sideline. No one else was better than him. How do you think Roger Staubach got to be that good in a game where everybody is like slivers away from? I mean, they're all pros. They're all the best of the best. How do you become the best of the best within the best of the best? Okay. That's the challenge that we are all putting ourselves inside of. That's why we show up on calls like this. Because if we wanted to be average, heck, there's 1,000 different morning shows we could be watching on TV with them just kind of blathering on about whatever, life in general. But the thing is those individuals, to me, when I watch them, I don't see purpose. I don't see mission. I don't see them striving and practicing and performing to take what life has handed to them and learning how to be stoic about it. Okay. Stoic, not meaning that you have to be poker face, but stoic meaning perspective. That when life comes at you, you have to keep remembering how you respond to life is all inside of here. It's all inside of your head. It's inside of your soul. Okay. It's how you feel about it and how you think about it. That is your right. That is your choice. You get to create your reality. The creator gave each one of us the right, the opportunity to create our own world, our own reality by out picturing how we want to respond to what the randomness and the uncertainty that I think he, she, or them have brought against us to do what? To test and find out what we are made of. How are we going to perform when things go awry? How are we going to perform when things don't happen the way we wish they were happening? Because here's the deal. There's no reason to grade someone when everything is going peachy and they're doing everything right. There's no test there because there's no resistance. There's no struggle. So what are you testing? There's nothing to test because when everything is a breeze and you're doing everything right, there's no opportunity to find out what you're really made of inside. And I remember when I was up climbing the hill yesterday or day before, and it was 50-mile-an-hour gust, and it was sub-freezing, and the blasts were coming in, and the winds were laying over, stuff like that. And I remember those messages my father built into my mind that come back, and I hear him as a drill instructor in the back of my mind. The test is what it takes to make you stop. The test of a man. Okay, so I'm using that from a gender standpoint, but I want to mean it for the test of a human. The test of a human is what it takes to stop you. And I believe, as I've tried to understand the purpose for life, the reason for life, why are we here? Why did the creator make this thing? What is the game that we're playing? And it's my perspective after all these years of reading all this philosophy and going through all the difficulties of my life is the creator is looking for a few good humans. Okay. I know I'm using the commercial off the Marine Corps. Okay. The Marines are looking for a few good men. Okay. They're looking for a few good humans. Okay. And I think the Creator is looking to find those of us that are going to plan, prepare, and practice to perform when it matters most, when we're tired, when things didn't happen our way, when we're hurt, when it's cold, when our muscles are aching us, or we feel that, once again, we found another human being that maybe didn't do the thing that we thought they were supposed to do. How are we going to perform? Are we going to act with grit? Are we going to stay in there and refuse to quit? Or are we going to use that as an opportunity excuse to throw in the towel, and then everybody else is going to pat you in the back and go, okay, well, I would have quit too. Well, yeah, so would most people. Okay. That does not separate us to allow us to make that impact in one person's life. Like we were talking about last week, Alan, with Brian on here, when he's climbing Everest, he got the cough at base camp, and, he couldn't stay. So he starts going down. He leaves his team after they were up there acclimating. He leaves his team and goes back down the hill toward whatever camp number 3 or whatever. And as he's going down for 3 days, the cough gets better. So what does he do? He could have gone, oh, it's over. I can't do this. So he quits. And what happened is his health reversed in those 3 days coming down. So he turned himself around. He goes back up to base camp and finds that what happened to his climbing team? They had already left and they were already headed for the summit. So for the next 16 days, if I remember correctly, you guys that were on here, tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I thought I heard for the next 16 days, he climbed solo.
Yeah.
Freezing temperatures all by himself. He had a radio, so he was talking to the team that was in front of him. But he's climbing solo at the top of the earth, the highest point of the planet, freezing. Okay? And what did he tell you that he did? He had this thing called looping in his mind, and he kept focusing on just the window of right around him, not where he was at, not all the things going. He kept himself focused. That was his stoic perspective. Right here in front of me, watching my boots, putting one step in front of the other, looking up occasionally to get my bearings so I know that I'm not headed off the side of the cliff. I know I'm headed to the summit. But then you don't stare at the summit, because that difficulty and that thousands of feet of frozen mountain will eventually crush your soul. So you start with the end in mind, and then what did he do? He stared at his boots. One step in front of the other, one step in front of the other. Kept his looping, his mindset right here. Here's where I'm going. This is what I'm doing today. That's all that matters to me right now. One step in front of the other. And what did he end up doing? He made it to his objective. He made it to Everest. He ended up naming his son Everest because he actually owned that trophy. What a cool thing. Okay. How incredible to achieve something humanly near impossible for everyone else. And he got there and it looked like he was going to fail, but he turned it around. Why? Because he kept playing the looping in his mind. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. I've trained for years. I'm going to figure out how to do this. I got set back. I'm headed down the hill. I got this cough that I can't knock. And then all of a sudden flipped him around and went back up the hill. Okay. So part of the practice that we do here, talking about Sean Acor's happiness advantage, is I want to go through, and this is something I challenge you to do in any group, in any call that you start with, any meeting that you begin with, is you start off and you let everyone share the one thing that they're most grateful for. So Alan already started us off, and he got us talking about how he was grateful to see the different types of pro level players and how they inspired him. I'll share that I was grateful to have the kind of training that I did from the father that I went through that was tough sometimes. And I was like, why did I get saddled to this guy? What kind of God hooked me up with this guy? Okay. Because he was tough and he was difficult. He didn't take excuses, but he's still today, even though he's 74 years old and he's not with me every day, his coaching and his insights are still rattling in the back of my mind as that drill instructor when I'm cold and when I'm tired and I'm sitting there on top of a hill and I'm down on one knee because I'm exhausted, my legs are burning, and I'm eating that little piece of a bar and drinking a piece of coffee, and I'm still hearing him encourage me and focus. And that's the thing that can happen for you. Your little encouragements can be that idea, that thought, that little voice that keeps whispering in the back of someone's mind. Don't quit. Don't quit. Stay on mission. You're good enough to make it. You just got to keep going. So let's jump on here. Anybody else that wants to jump in here and tell me what you're grateful for? turn yourself off mute. Blanca first, and then Linda, and then we'll just let everyone else go after that. Go ahead, Blanca.
Good morning, everybody. And first of all, grateful to be with all of you guys this morning. And secondly, I'm very grateful because my son is at home going through COVID and not in a hospital going through COVID. That's my share.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, we'll keep him in our prayers and hope everything turns out there good. Awesome. Linda,
Thank you.
jump in here. Tell us what you're thankful for.
I'm so grateful that I get to spend Monday mornings with this wonderful family. And every single Monday, I walk away with some little nugget and some ability to make my day better and make my week better and just move myself forward even a little bit. I'm so grateful to have a part of you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Linda, well, Linda, we're always grateful for you to be here. And yes, we all love being part of the family. Anyone else that wants to jump in here, just turn yourself off mute and jump in.
Hi, it's Heather here.
Hey, Heather.
I'm grateful. I took a course once called Warrior Camp.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized, I can always do a little bit more than where I think my limit is. So every day I think about that, and where I'm working on my a system for myself to become a better me.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I do my gratitudes. I listen to good thoughts such as this. I have my, oh, the words escape me right now. Improving my belief system in myself.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so every day I'm doing that, and it's a new routine for me, and I'm loving it because it's, as you say, it's something that keeps me going every day to make myself a better person.
Yes.
And be better at my craft, what
That's
I'm
it.
doing.
Good term. I love that. Better at your craft. Your craft that she's referring to there is the performance that you plan, prepare, and practice for. And if you're not planning, prepare, and practice, then when it comes time for someone to see your craft and performance, then there's nothing there. And you fold like a lot of humans do. And it's disheartening. And, the thing is when we do that little extra every day, we find that regimen, that routine, that ritual, okay, like meeting together, locking arms with other people, expressing what we're grateful for and inspiring each other. Because how many times a day do our own words not inspire us? Our self-talk, right? Thousands. Right. I've heard anywhere from 9,000 comments a day to 50,000 comments a day are negative going on inside of your own mind, right? Telling you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not educated enough, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough experience, blah, blah, blah. And it's our own ego, I guess you'd say, that's reducing our own self-esteem, okay? So it's important that we get an opportunity to be with positive individuals, to be around them. So very, very good there, Heather. Thank you for that. Anyone else that wants to jump in here? And Raquel, I'm going to come to you just a second. I was going to give you a heads up because I want you to introduce Bunchful to the group here, because this is your first time to be here. So I'd love for you to tell us about your whole idea. Because I'm not going to call it a company because it's a concept. It's a movement. So I'll let you do that here in just a second. First of all, I'm going to let everyone else jump in and tell us something. Go ahead, Patty, jump in here.
Okay, well, I'm like Linda, grateful for this group too, but and I've got my schedule where I can get on more often, but the live videos, that's something that I've just struggled to be able to do, just because years ago, even to talk in front of a group like this, I would like have to shut the screen off and throw up because I'd be so nervous. But I reached out and I made a plan of attack to do the lives and to be regular about it, because I just have in my head that, kind of like you said, with life experiences, we have something to offer to help other people. And so I've done it. I've done several, and I've got a plan to do them regular now, what the subject matter will be. And my whole purpose was to, be the power of one. If it can just touch one person's heart, it will be, it will have been a success. And so I'm grateful that I got the courage to finally jump up and do that.
Absolutely. So awesome, and I love to see the Christmas decorations and everything around you, adding some great holiday cheer to everyone. Thank you, Patty. That's awesome.
Love that.
Good. Who else wants to jump in here and tell us what you're grateful for?
Yeah, I'll go.
Go, Nisa.
First of all, I'm really, really grateful for you and for this group, because you're always raising the bar and keeping our integrity in place, because it's so easy to lose your integrity in this world that we are in. And I'm really grateful. This weekend, I was able to go and visit my sister at her house for the first time in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because my brother-in-law wouldn't allow me to go and visit her because he didn't agree with the fact that of my beliefs.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So when I just took, all the personal development that I've had, I just went in there with love and just acceptance, and
Yep.
I just and we actually had a really good time, and I
Awesome.
baked a cake with my sister, and we were able to create something that he even went to the extent of inviting me for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How cool. And isn't
Yeah.
that interesting that when, when you decided to, how do you want to say that, kind of go in there with love and acceptance and not having any preconceived ideas and no demands that trying to be argumentative or confrontational. And sometimes we do that unconsciously. We want other people to believe what we believe because that's something that it's kind of what's inside of us, right? It's what we believe is our own truth, and we want other people to believe our own truth because we think we're doing the right thing. And instead, sometimes when you just go to that position of acceptance and just care and love and being empathetic and not trying to have any agenda, wow, all of a sudden, all the walls that used to be there for resistance just seem to melt away, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Such a great.
Thank you.
Good.
So it was the choice that I made. Rather than being right, I needed to be happy.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that quote that I'm a fan of some of Nietzsche's work, not all of it, some of it. And he made a statement one time, and I had to think about it. He said, there are no facts, only interpretations.
Absolutely.
And when I thought about that for a long time, I have, I'm from Texas, so we got hard heads and slow, and sometimes we're a little slow, right? But I had to think about that for a while because it was so deep. And the depth of it is, the things that we call our facts, that are our truths, and I'm calling capital T, are a lot of times just our beliefs that we've repeated over and over again, and we built these walls around them that are called identity. And then when someone says, "Oh, I don't believe your T truth or your fact," then we feel it's a personal affront to our identity. We get all upset and go to war, right? And how dare you say that? And then all of a sudden the ego jumps in there and keeps talking to us in the back of our mind. And we keep this ongoing thing that's nothing but an egotistical display. And at the end of the day, you know what? The beautiful thing about freedom, the true thing about, I'll distinguish liberty separate from freedom, is the right of all human beings to have their own beliefs, as long as those beliefs do not infringe upon our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
It's just like if you have two people looking at the number 66, the person at the bottom will say it's definitely 66, and the person from the top will say it's 99 without a shadow of a doubt.
Yes.
And it's just perception of your view from whichever side you're looking at.
Absolutely. I'm gonna let I know we're over the halfway marker here, or at 30 minutes, so I want Raquel to jump in here. And I've had a chance to meet Raquel probably, is it 9 months ago, maybe almost a year. And I was so impacted by her movement that she's created called Bunchful. So I'm so glad that you were able to make this time this morning and jump in here. So tell us about Bunchful.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you for inviting me to this wonderful group. It's such a powerful thing that you're doing. I think that when we met, I immediately recognized someone who lived in abundance and shared that abundance with others. And so that's why I was struck, when we met, and here you are practicing abundance. So thank you for inviting me here and getting this opportunity to meet your wonderful team members on this call. I'll be brief, but I created Bunchful as an organization that is all about giving. And by giving, what we mean is we give to others and we give to ourselves. Very importantly, I am extremely grateful. We have world leaders who have joined our organization, and though we are a startup, they have come on board and have helped us build our foundation and grow. And so now we have completed building our technology, which is called our Be Bunchful technology. That is a software as a service for companies to show all the philanthropy and social good they do. And it's not just about showing it, it's really about leading through example. So by showing others, this is how we lead through philanthropy. That's really what our technology does. We're about to launch it in January, but even more importantly, and what I'm immensely proud of, and is that we have events that accompany that's accompanying our technology. And we launched the first of our events in November. November. It was called the Bunchful Future of Philanthropy. We had these amazing speakers, people with depth in their industry, experience, people who were advising the Prince Charles of England, and just really some really strong persons in the summit. And at first I was a little bit despondent, did we reach enough people? But when we looked back at the numbers, we had almost 400 people who attended, which I'm really grateful for, at a virtual summit, when everyone is had enough Zooms and, but we had over 400 people who attended, almost 400 people attending, and, at least almost 25% of engagement. And so that was really rewarding.
Yes.
But upcoming, our most important event is called the Bunchful Awards. And the Bunchful Awards is where we recognize and honor those who give back to their community. This award is actually for you. So if you know someone in your community, in your network, or yourself, you can nominate yourself for an award. And it will be judged by, we've put together an independent committee who have created the criteria. They're independent of our organizations. They are from all over the world. And we will be nominating those who give back will be nominated for a Bunchful Award. That's coming up next year. We're still getting our partnerships in place, but I can tell you that we're speaking to some of the top organizations in the world in putting this together.
That's
so
great.
Thank you for this opportunity.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cheers to you, Raquel. I mean, it's just interesting. I think it's reassuring, maybe is a better word, to see that there are other people out there that are just like us, that are all doing that little bit extra. I put the link in here, by the way, and maybe I should do it again just so everyone has it in the feed. But I put the link in here for Sarah Blakely, because we're not going to have time to play her video today. But if you just want to walk away, click on that and watch it when we jump offline. But her whole concept was that her dad, every Saturday when they had dinner together, her and her brother, he would ask them, how did you fail this week? And when you first hear that, you're like, whoa, what kind of parenting process is that? Asking your children how they failed. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to talk about failure. But he had such an interesting insight. I've never heard how he got the insight. But what it did to her is it made it change her perspective inside, that it's to go out and do something that's at the edge of your capability. And if you fail, it's okay, because we get to talk about it in a fashion where we get praise. Okay. So think about that. If we took that forward in our world, and our giving was to tell everybody it's okay to go ahead and do that thing that you're passionate about, that, hey, you might quote fail, but hey, we get to meet again next week and we can talk about the failure, and we'll go, what did we learn from it? And if we learn something from it, see, who taught me this a long time ago? Was it Tom Hopkins? Failure is not failure as long as you learn something from it. Okay. Failure is not failure as long as you learn something from it. What is it then? It's a learning experience, right? And if we're learning and we have the experience like we talked about in the beginning of the call, what can you do? You can share. You can do just what Raquel is doing. And what she's doing is she's reaching large organizations. That to me is so reassuring to see organizations. And when I think about that, I'm thinking like the Simon Sinek version of organizations, where you see, if you haven't read, I just gave it to actually to Matt for Christmas. I gave Matt the book The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and I also gave my son the same gift, but I gave him the audio version for his Audible. The Infinite Game. If you don't know what The Infinite Game is by Simon Sinek, jump online, watch, and there's some on Google, on YouTube. There's an hour version of it. If not, we'll talk about it next week on here. But it's about this concept of how do you do and focus on other people first. Focus on caring about them. Focus on finding what's important to them, and then focus on serving. Wow. Okay. Serve first. Focus on taking care of other people, finding out what is their 800-pound gorilla that's beating them up. And you may have the angle that 800-pound gorilla to them is not a problem to you. Like Nisa gave us that perspective earlier, 66 from one direction is 99 to the other. And you might be able to go over there and knock the gorilla right out of the room and help this person move to the next level. They just needed that angle. Okay. You can help them with that, because your perspective is experience that comes from a different angle. You can help them solve their problem, their challenge, their obstacle. So I know we're over time. I'm sorry. I know I promised to keep us always at 30 minutes, because I know you're busy and you got a big week in front of you. Thank you, each one, for being here. And thank you, Raquel, for sharing with us about Bunchful. And thank each one of you for giving us your insights and what you're grateful for. I will see you here the same time this next week. And remember, just keep planning, preparing, and practicing so that you can perform when it matters most. See you guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful week.